I don't think I'm plugged in here. Here we go. Oh my God. I am just going to go with the headset today. Why? Because I can. I really need to learn how this snaps off. Doesn't matter. Yeah. That's probably why. Turn that off, turn this on. There we go. And program and follow that up with so. Skill stacking, term insurance, insurance payoff. I just did. Okay, how do I do? Alternative investments. Explanation. And follow up with all this with that. Yeah, I feel like 9 steps is probably more than sufficient to run it this way. Hmm. Just rearranging. Seven, 8, and 9. Yeah, this is just really tedious. Because I feel like things get oversimplified. Not that simplicity is bad, it's just that they get simplified to the point where it doesn't even work anymore. And all of a sudden you start running into these problems because you're not willing to jump the hurdles that you actually need to take care of when the time comes along. I mean, part of it's just having a plan and knowing what you're doing and where you're going to. Yeah. Yeah, that seems to make a lot more sense doing it like that. It's going to be a lot easier to follow as well. Okay. Okay, this is starting to come together much better now. Okay. Yeah, that looks a lot better. That is way better. Oh my gosh. Five, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. Okay. Ooh. Hassan really likes watching me do a whole lot of nothing, doesn't he? Good for you, dude. That's kind of funny. TikTok is kind of an interesting app. I wonder if they're going to get rid of it. We'll see what Congress ends up doing. I don't think it's going to fall apart. Someone will buy it up. It's worth too much money. There's too much traffic on there for them to get rid of it. It's not like we don't spy on everyone else anyway, so it's like, who actually cares? Foundations, retired. Yeah, I actually like this a lot better. Financial program. What is that? Is there a 3 column? I need to put a picture in there, not a. I'm not good at making pictures. That's why I have AI. That's what I need. I should put like an AI thing in here. Put something to remind me in there because it's probably not going to happen today. Add a crazy picture. I don't know. And the problem is, like, I do like financial stuff. Everyone wants to use a pyramid, but then you start looking at the pyramid and it doesn't even work because it might like sound cool. Like, this is a great foundation. Yeah, yada yada yada. But yet they don't even talk about 90% of stuff they need to talk about. Because either you make plenty of money, you don't invest it, or you don't make enough money and are trying to invest too much of the money that you don't make. So you end up with this really lopsided thing where we kind of miss when people are young is everyone misses when they're young that your whole goal when you're 20 shouldn't be investing. Your whole goal when you're 20s and 30s, it should be making more money. But of course, YouTube and TikTok and social media has turned us into this generation of we want to invest in passive income. Well, the fact that passive income doesn't really exist. And the closest thing you can have to it is probably it's mutual funds, study a course, as opposed to teaching you the fundamentals. And then the people who realize that the goal is just to make a ton of passive income, then really you just win your face off all day long. That's all it really boils down to. But I wonder what I could do. I could do a pyramid. I don't know. It would be easy to understand. Using a three-sided structures of support. Might go to a house. That actually may not be a terrible idea. See? An incredibly terrible drawings. Doesn't really work all that well, does it? Hmm. Hmm. I come up with a better name. Yeah, foundations. The phase. Figure out how much money you really need. Actually, that wouldn't be a bad goal here. Goal be to calculate. Got it. How much you'll have to make in order to enter into each of into the new phase. Yeah, I kind of like that idea. Because then you just figure out 1, 2, 3, okay, calculate, and calculate how much there, how much there. Yeah, that makes sense. Let me put that on 2 pages. There we go. I really should put on my timer. Make sure I'm doing getting my hours. And I don't know what time this thing started. I know, so bad. Does it give me a? Oh, it actually has a timer right there. Okay, cool. That makes my life easier. Especially considering I have not been sleeping lately. So, yeah, here we go. Mhm. Ugh, gross. There should be, I wonder the background. Huh. All right. Oh, this is fun. Your live may contain themes not suitable for younger audiences, has been age restricted. The trading or using tobacco. Oh, this is fun. That's really funny. God, you gotta love this app. Apparently, I'm consuming substances. I wouldn't know because I've been legit sitting here typing on a computer. That's pretty funny. You know, I feel like it's kind of funny. I feel like TikTok is just people who are hunting for attention. And then when you don't give them that attention, it's just they jump to the report and just spam report over just total freaking nonsense. Which is why like I don't really put a whole lot of attention into it. Because when you're actually looking through it, there's a whole bunch of other stuff on there that is obviously not age appropriate. But if I'm just like sitting here working, apparently it's bad. What's actually really also kind of funny is all my content I put on there 18 plus on everything, and I don't really do anything 18 plus on here. I probably could have kids on it, but I don't feel like talking to a bunch of 14-year-olds because it's uninteresting to me. Let's see, keep going. Forward. Okay. Get quotes for all three. I think that's okay. There we go. Savings phase. There we go. The income. Cash flow phase. And before we do that, let's go watch a video for a bit because I'm being super boring on here. And I know I'm being super boring on here. An idea of research and let's see. Let's see what's going on. And how are these like all so old? Okay, so and I've heard two different arguments on debates. So the first is that debates are pointless because it's really not about getting to the heart of the matter, but instead it's who's more articulate and who has more charisma, because that's who oftentimes wins in the debate. Just because something doesn't seem right or something might seem kind of crazy doesn't make it that it's untrue. You know, a good example of this is like quantum physics, for example. So if you have something like quantum entanglement, which means that if you have a particle over here floating around and a particle over here floating around, whatever happens to one, the other one will start mimicking, despite the fact it doesn't seem like there's any connection between the two. In a debate, probably pretty easy to make it sound like that person seems crazy. However, when you actually start seeing it and you can prove it, it doesn't even necessarily matter because a debate could just be an argument. The other part that the other argument I've seen is that, and this happens quite frequently, is that people get ideologically attached to ideas. And so, whatever your idea is, you now have to just agree with whoever or whatever that side is saying. So, for example, like if you, politics is a perfect example of this. If you're a Trump fan, then whatever Trump says, you just go with it, even if it's complete and total nonsense. Or if you're a Joe Biden fan, he might say something and then you just kind of go with it in that manner. However, I've seen over the years a lot of, as something starts to get pushed, and it seems like human beings really just go through these cycles that take years to fully complete, that you have to go through the full cycle to start seeing changes in the culture, to change people's minds, to see where those things are going. So I think a lot of it is just giving it time and figuring out what the best way, what, if giving people time to actually change, because people can only change at a certain pace. There is a rate that's way too fast for people to change. So another point about debate is that oftentimes there's a lot of just character assassination and there's a lot of hyperbole into something that can create a lot of problems, which why people just talk past each other. So for example, um, another good one politically is if you believe that the other side is just trying to destroy the country, you're not willing to even have the discussion to begin with. But if you start from the standpoint of, hey, this person thinks that this is the correct thing to do, and then you can start working through those challenges, then you can end up in a much better position. However, if we can't humanize each other, the whole argument's pointless because if you've already decided that the other person's just evil, then why even have the discussion to begin with? There's a Okay, the whole ownage or just going out and getting owned, you will see that a lot, and you see a lot of this, is especially as people are trying to move up the ladder, they'll go to college campuses and they'll selectively clip certain individuals who just say dumb things. And the issue is that if you go to a college campus or if you go to an institution and just start asking people certain questions, even if it's like simple questions like name three countries or name three presidents or whatever individual, obviously some people are going to get those answers wrong, and then there's a few people who are going to come up with some really stupid questions or some stupid answers, because legit there are some dumb people in the world. But for the most part, what you're going to find is that most people have a pretty basic or a fairly level understanding of these historical points. The issue that arises, especially when they're doing these clips, is they're not showing you all the people that they're talking to. They are simply going to take the craziest, most outlandish story that they can possibly find and then use that in their video. And people watch it because they'll go subconsciously or consciously, well, I'm at least not as dumb as that person is. And so remember, the point of the social media is to get attention, and people are going to watch the craziest things they can. That's why, back in the 1800s you had like traveling circuses, or like Ripley's Believe It or Not, or whatever shows, because people want to see things that are crazy, and that part of human nature hasn't changed. Oh, that's super weird. Okay, well, that's pretty funny. Okay, with anything you do, you always have to play the long game. It's very easy to get caught up in the here and now and not realize what's happening over a number of years. If you look at a human cycle, if you look at realistically, like college is a good example of this. To go through the full cycle, it really does take anywhere from 4 to 7 years to get through those cycles. And if you're not willing to go through those cycles, then there's no point, because you're not doing it for long enough to actually reap the fruits of your labor. And we see this across the board, cross industry, whether cross fitness goals across everything. It just takes a long time to build everything. So you have to be patient in what you're doing. Okay, that's another good point about communication here. And this can be an issue that we all have. When you're discussing something, especially in public, short and concise. The more simple it is, the better off you're going to be. People can nitpick it, but at the end of the day, the communication needs to be brief because that's what people will remember and that's what people hold on to over the long term, not these drawn out explanations. Here's something ironic. If you chase something negative, you're constantly chasing something negative, you might win in the short run, but you'll never win in the long run. A good example, so especially politically, in the United States, long run, Republicans have just consistently lost over and over and over again. Now they might win like battles here and there because of cultural issues every once in a while, where something pops up and they kind of win on one issue or another. But over the course of the long run, Republicans and conservatives have been consistently losing. And the issue is because when you look at the two strategies overall, one party has done a really good job of explaining to the population what they want. Now, you may not agree with those viewpoints, but you know what the Democrats want. The issue is right now is conservatives and Republicans, they can attack the Democrats, but their whole platform is literally, hey, we just don't like whatever Democrats want, we don't want that. And so long run, it's a failing strategy. And the same thing in your life. If you say, hey, I don't want something, I don't want, for example, I don't want to be poor, I don't want to be overweight, I don't want to live in this neighborhood, whatever it may be, it's not enough to say I don't want this because there's always things that we don't want. But you also have to go to get on the other side of that and say, hey, this is what I do want. So there's this like cat and cheese dynamic here where you're running away from the cat, but there also has to be cheese that you're chasing. Otherwise, you're just not going to get what you want. Because if you run away from one demon, oftentimes you just run into another demon that you've got to run away from. Anyway, back up here for a second. Okay, something. I don't know. Yeah, this conversation's starting to bore me. Da, 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 da. Goodness, I just don't really know. All right, break's over. Back to work. Back to the savings phase, and let's open this up to pay off high interest debt. And then the next one here is going to be the max. Okay, match plus IRA. And then after that, with the annuities, after that, then we move into cash flow phase. We have cash value life insurance. And we got payoff interest debts. And then finally, alternative investments. F's and real estate. And then lastly, we've got investments. I'll have to build a calculator for this because I think it's not bad. I don't say it's great though. Ugh. Man, what just a lazy day. I am ready to go to sleep. It's only 4:30. Hmm. Really, that's the 20 rules of money popped. Wow, that's the first one. It's Patrick Bet Davis. I don't know. I'm not really a big fan and don't really care too much about things. Ugh. Sure, whatever. I really need to figure out how to end a call on TikTok without just ending the whole live stream. Huh. Oh, well. I'm gonna start breaking things up. The one thing I've noticed about the problem with finance is it's like there's no like and I don't know if that is like an audience issue or if it's a creator issue. But I've noticed the things that are really gonna make you successful in all this stuff, like just end up in a total nonsense. Good example, great. Look, how to invest $1,000. Let's start with that one. Okay. Da, 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 da. Just with that. Okay, so look, so Bill Ackman is certainly a very, very successful investor, but the issue is like he has so much money to invest. I don't even think that here's the issue. There's something that happens at scale. If you have $1,000 to invest and you have $1,000 to your name, it is an incredibly different game than if you've got, say, you know, $10 million to invest. It's just a different side of the world. And one of the biggest issues that I happen to have is that far too often you have someone who started something 20 years ago. So now 20 years later, they forgot all the stuff that they used to do on a day-to-day basis because the game changes as you get bigger. So I don't even know if that's worth having a conversation about, not because he doesn't know what he's doing, but because he's just at a different level that I'm not going to relate to. Okay, there's another example. The Intelligent Investor, obviously a great book, but and Warren Buffett was really the guy. I think Warren Buffett was probably the guy who actually made that book popular because he used to talk about Benjamin Graham quite a bit. But how you did things in Benjamin Graham's time is very different than how you do things now. So it doesn't even make sense for me to learn that because we don't use it anymore. It would be like, okay, when I was a kid, there's still a lot of programming going on in DOS. No one uses DOS anymore to program, so why would I learn that skill set? It's a waste of time. Okay, so that piece actually does make a lot of sense because all he's talking about is taking opportunities because of a bad situation. So if you want to make a lot, I mean, people are so fickle because they're so emotionally driven to make decisions just based on nothing. So if in this scenario, what he's talking about is the company's going along and a food safety issue. Okay, guess what? Every company in the world, every food company in the world eventually is going to have a food safety issue. You're sourcing from a lot of materials, you're driving trucks, things have to be refrigerated, things break down, bad things happen, right? So what happens is that you get a story where someone gets sick, the media blows it up, and then it just gets driven, the stock price gets driven to the ground. Maybe their profits take a hit, maybe their profits don't take a hit, but the reality is, like, I think most of us have eaten at Chipotle, pretty good food. And at the end of the day, it's like it's not going to seriously affect that company's bottom line. So, of course, the stock price is going to bump back up because people are going to remember, or people are simply going to forget that that event happened. I mean, unfortunately, the world is not a perfect place, obviously. And so, take a little bit of time to realize and recognize that, things will change, things will get better, things will get worse, just kind of cycle of life here.